Guys, how much longer can we do this? How how many more weeks can we go where Russell Wilson just saves everybody's job? How many more weeks can we go with all these pieces on this team that desperately need to get fired and just have them bailed out every week by Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett? And I guess now we can introduce DK Metcalf and to a certain extent Chris Carson to that list, but Jesus Christ, how many more weeks can we just survive solely off the production of 4 or 5 players and one coach? I Seahawks win, right? 40-34 in overtime. There are obvious bright spots here. And look, Wilson solidified his stranglehold on the MVP. After today, he should be by far the number one choice for MVP in the league after 9 weeks. And he should have such a big lead that it will be almost impossible for anybody to catch him. Just absolutely lighting up that weak Tampa Bay pass defense. And I know it's a weak pass defense. Don't get me wrong. This was not He did not destroy the 85 Bears today, but incredible stuff from him. Just he had one bad throw today. He overthrew Lockett for what would have been a long touchdown, and we ended up getting 0 points on that drive. So he missed one throw today. Other than that, he was perfect, and we needed him to be perfect. Lockett, it's really time to start talking about Tyler Lockett as a top 5 receiver in this league because what he is doing with this weird offense and not having prototypical wide receiver attributes is just incredible. And we're kind of used to it as Seahawks fans because we're now seeing this every week. I think that fans of other teams who maybe aren't used to watching Tyler Lockett, if they don't watch very many Seahawks games and they tune in and they see what Lockett's doing, they're like, holy shit, this is one of the most creative and innovative and special receivers I've seen in a long time. I mean, he's doing this despite the fact that he's small. He's fast, but he doesn't have Tyreek Hill speed. It's just you can't say enough good things about Lockett. Today, obviously, career day, but it's really time to start talking about Tyler Lockett as one of the best 5 receivers in football. Incredible day from him. DK Metcalf, quiet first 3 quarters, had a couple catches, and then huge play after huge play in that fourth quarter in overtime. He had the long touchdown. He had that play where he broke a tackle right before the end of the game when we were trying to drive for a field goal. And if he goes down in the field of play, that game is probably just going to go to overtime right then and there. But DK broke a tackle, got out of bounds, gave us a chance to drive for a game-winning field goal. Obviously, the big play in overtime, just money. And we are now moving past the stage with DK where we're just happy with DK making 1 or 2 good plays a game. He is now part of this offense to the point where he can make 5, 6, 7 big plays a game. And we need to keep feeding DK the ball on those downfield passes. That is where he can do his most damage. That is where this offense is best served putting him. Jacob Hollister. When we got him, I was happy. I was like, that's a good idea, but I didn't really think he was going to be a big part of this offense. Obviously, I didn't know Disley was going to get hurt, but even with Disley hurt, I did not necessarily think Jacob Hollister was going to be the guy who stepped up. And great game from him today. He had 3 or 4 really nice plays today. And he's keeping this offense afloat. Chris Carson, I'll even let him off the hook for the 2 fumbles, which is, ridiculous given the fumbling problems he's already had this year, but neither fumble hurt us. And he had the best game that anybody has had against this Tampa Bay run defense by far. No running back that Tampa Bay has played so far this year has come even close to the production that Carson had today. 105 yards, throwing 28 more on the ground, had a 60-yard run, almost sprung that for a touchdown. I'm going to hold off on him for now because, the fumbles did not end up hurting us, but I mean, it is a little ridiculous that he actually puts the ball on the ground twice after the problems he's already had this year. But hey, I said before this game, this is not a Chris Carson type of game. And for a good chunk of this game, it really, really was. So, sorry if you guys can hear my dog up there, by the way. She'll chill out after a second. Offensive line, makeshift. No Justin Britt. We're rolling out there with the first game of Joey Hunt. I'm not saying it was perfect, but my God, they fought. And they did the best that they could, and they held it together enough for this team to have a pretty decent performance. So, Brian Schottenheimer, full credit. Full credit for the great game plan he put together out there today that involved attacking that weak Tampa Bay secondary. There was no running the ball to try to establish the run, even though there's no good value in that type of shit in this game. We passed early, we passed often, we leaned on the pass throughout the whole game, and the game plan worked to perfection. So, huge ups to Brian Schottenheimer. And the core pieces of this offense and even some of the role players performed. Even David Moore, who I was getting irritated with late in that game because we targeted him on two key plays, which I just don't understand that. I don't understand why you're targeting David Moore when you need a big play and you've got guys like Lockett and Metcalf, and now it looks like Hollister's in that group. I don't know why you would go to David Moore in those key situations, but in overtime on 2nd and 10, he had a big 12-yard gain that really might have saved things, because who knows what happens if it gets to 3rd down in overtime, because this defense was not going to stop Tampa Bay. We had to get a touchdown on that drive, point blank, period. And David Moore made a sneaky, critical play late in that game. So I'll give him some love too. This offense, hey, there's very little you can criticize them for, and thank God for that, because holy shit. I knew this defense was going to get roasted today. I knew it. I knew we were going to give up some stuff. I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I mean, Mike Evans, early, middle of the game, late in the game, killing us. Just murdering us, and we can't do anything to stop it. We put Shaq on Evans, it doesn't work. We put Trey on Evans, it doesn't work. Now, look, it wouldn't work with very many cornerbacks in the league. There are only a couple cornerbacks in this league that can handle Mike Evans by themselves. Mike Evans is as good as it gets. Mike Evans is a prototype. I love that dude. I think he's a monster. I love Mike Evans, but we don't have any options to double team him because our linebackers are too slow to keep up with these tight ends. So we gotta have guys covering the tight ends in the secondary. And then, we got Chris Godwin problems. We can't stop him. Can't stop Rashad Perryman. Our front seven can't keep up with Jameis Winston, who is not even that fast of a guy. So we just need help everywhere. So Mike Evans gets left in single coverage all game. We're in that zone, and they're just picking us apart. So much of this game, it was just Winston and Evans playing pitch and catch. And there was nothing we could do to stop it, and that was just demoralizing. When we needed a big stop, look, we got a couple. Winston missed a couple passes. Shaq made a nice play on a 3rd down against Perriman. We had a couple of other nice tackles short of the sticks on, I think, Evans and Godwin. And we got a couple of key stops, but it seemed like they could go to Evans whenever they needed to. It was just whenever they dropped back and looked Mike Evans' way, we just had to cross our fingers and hope they would miss the throw, because he was getting open every play. And there was nothing we could do to stop it, and that's just demoralizing because, look, there are not very many receivers in the NFL better than Mike Evans, but 5-6 years ago, we had a team that could do something about any one player in the NFL. 5-6 years ago, we had guys that we could put on Mike Evans to just take him out of the game, and we don't have that anymore, and we just looked completely helpless out there. Like I said, Shaq got beat up today. Finally, Shaq had a bad game. I can't really put too much of the blame on him for it. Trey had a bad game. Of course, we were asking him to do something that is just beyond his skills to do, quite frankly. Um, the run defense was pretty good, but this is what I'm kind of saying about the run game in the modern NFL. Stopping the run doesn't do anything for you if you just give it up on 3rd down and 6 anyway. You stop them for a gain of 2 on 1st down, stop them for a gain of 2 on 2nd down. You need to get off the field on that 3rd down. And stopping the run is great, and we did a good job against the run today. Tampa Bay might have had 1 or 2 good runs the whole day. It doesn't mean anything if you can't get off the field on 3rd down, and most of the game today we didn't. So even that, I have to, preface it with, we stopped the run, but who cares? No pass rush, hardly. Later in the game, Kendricks got a little bit of pressure on one play, ended up resulting in a fumble that, Winston let the ball slip out of his hands. Let's be real here, but he got pressure on that play. Clowney got pressure on another play. Wagner had a sack. Most of the game, though, just nothing in the backfield on Winston. And you can't tell me these players are that bad at pressuring the quarterback. They've proven that they know how to pressure the quarterback on other teams. So really, really looking at that coaching staff. Wagner, I was super excited when we signed him to that 3rd contract. I'm not excited anymore, guys. I love Bobby. He's my favorite player on this team, and he will be one of my favorite Seahawks of all time for sure. But slow, missing tackles. That first drive of the game, we've got Tampa Bay stopped kicking a field goal with their shaky field goal kicker, Matt Gay. And he's just standing in front of Jameis Winston. There's no reason to put a finger on him because he's already thrown the ball away. And Wagner just pushes him down, draws that flag. Really? You're already not the same player you were even last year, Bobby. I don't need you to be stupid now, too. KJ Wright getting outrun on a key 4th down by Jameis Winston could have ended the game in regulation if we stopped him there, and we saw how slow KJ really was on that play. Lamar Jackson is one thing, but Jameis Winston should not be outrunning your undersized linebacker. So there's very little I can say about this defense positive. As good as the offense was, the defense was as bad. And at 7-2, I don't know what you can do, but I don't know how Pete Carroll looks at this defense and can think this is okay. We gave that big money contract to Wagner. We brought back KJ Wright. We traded for Jadeveon Clowney. We did all this stuff to make the defense good, and our defense is terrible. Our defense isn't just bad, it is terrible. And I don't know how Pete Carroll can look at this defense and go, yeah, this is okay, we can work with this. So even though we're 7-2, and even though, I don't know how Ken Norton Jr. keeps his job this week. I really don't. I don't know how Pete Carroll, who prides himself on defense, can look at this defense and go, yeah, I want to roll with this. Because nothing is working right now except for the run defense, and who gives a shit? Run defense only matters if you can get off the field on 3rd down. And we are struggling to do that massively right now. Miscommunications in the secondary, miscommunications on all kinds of coverage, terrible tackling. Everybody on this team right now is just mediocre at best at tackling, probably worse. Just bad. So, look, I can't say much about these players on defense. Okay, there are a couple guys, like Anza's not really the guy that we were hoping we would get when we got him. Blair missed his first career interception today, and it turned into a touchdown on one of the biggest fluke plays of all time. And look, I knew Winston was going to give us the ball a couple times today, and that was a play where he gave us the ball. He gave us the ball on that play, and we didn't capitalize. And that whole game, I was thinking to myself, that might have been the play. That was the play where Winston takes points off the board for his own team. That's the play where we get the ball back, and we can drive down and get points on our board. That was the play, and Blair couldn't catch it, and worst of all, it bounces up. And I was thinking, that was the stupid Winston play that he gave us, and we couldn't take advantage of it. Thank God he gave us another with the fumble where, honestly, we disrupted him, but nobody touched him. But we needed that turnover. And I don't want to hate on Blair because I thought Blair played fine for the most part today. I don't think this was his fault. I mean, the defense got shredded for over 400 yards. I don't really think it was Jameis's fault. I mean, Blair's fault, but we needed that interception. That was the play. And if he gets that interception, that's a different game. That's a game that we might win convincingly in regulation, and we're not having all these stressful discussions about the defense. But I can't say that much bad about the players. Like Bobby, he's slower. KJ, he's slower. A lot of guys on this team are missing tackles in key situations. There are some guys on this team who should be getting more pressure on the quarterback, but I don't think a lot of these guys are bad players. And I don't believe they've all forgotten how to play football in one offseason. There's some bad coaching going on here. And Ken Norton Jr. is one of the guys who needs to pack his bags really, really badly. And I don't know if it's going to take a loss. I don't know if it's going to take 3 or 4 losses. I don't know what the hell it's going to take. But whatever he's doing, it's not working. The only thing we're good at is stopping the run. And even then, I mean, Baltimore ran all over us. So you can't even say the run defense is perfect. Special teams, there are a couple other guys that really need to get the hell out of town. Frickin' Jason Myers, of course. I mean, on one hand, I want him out of here. On the other hand, if you look at kickers around the league right now, there are not very many good kickers. You cut Jason Myers, you owe him all this money, and you bring in another kicker who's probably just as bad. And look, if we let him go, so be it. I'm not going to shed a tear for him because he sucks. But there is a dearth of kicking talent in the NFL right now, so I don't know what the hell you do. But today was really unacceptable from him. Terrible game. We gave up a 20-yard punt return on coverage. And, 3 missed kicks and that. So, there's Brian Schneider, another dude getting his job saved by Russell Wilson, because I don't know how anybody can look at the special teams unit and say, yeah, they're playing good enough right now. I don't see it. And I don't think that anybody's going to lose their job for one more week because Russell Wilson, Lockett, Metcalf, all the usual suspects on this offense just balled out, just destroyed that Tampa Bay defense. And we needed every bit of it. So there's your game. I'm definitely irritated with some of the things this team is doing. I'm definitely annoyed with some of the things that I see on this team that should result in accountability. And there's just no accountability on this team. It's just, Pete Carroll's supposed to be about that life, about that accountability. And Carson fumbles twice in this game, and he doesn't get benched for even a snap. He's right back out there, even though we have Rashad Penny, who we did not want to trade at the deadline for a third rounder. You would think if you have Rashad Penny and you like him enough to not trade him, you should then be able to play him instead of a dude who can't stop fumbling. And I don't want to hate on Carson because the fumbles didn't end up hurting us, but still, that's a benchable offense. And you have a guy on the bench who you picked in the first round. No accountability for Brian Schneider, for the terrible special teams unit. The only thing you can say today is that Dixon actually had a great game today. Michael Dixon, great job on the punts. Jason Myers, I made excuses for him for a few weeks. I'm not making them anymore. This isn't okay. He could have easily cost us this game 3 different times today. Got bailed out every time because Wilson's that freaking good. All right. This is the longest video I've made for a post-game video in a while, but it's just confusing right now. We're 7-2, but are we good? I don't know. I don't know if this is a good team. I think that, this team is the equivalent of those 80s Bulls team that had Michael Jordan and nobody else, and they could win a lot of games because they had Jordan going off, but when it came down to it, they didn't quite stack up to the best teams because that was all they had. And if you can have optimism going into next week against the 49ers, then God bless you, but it's tough right now because how many more times can Russell Wilson just completely save every other unit on this team from oblivion? All right. I'm going to live stream tonight during the Sunday Night Football game, I think. If I don't, see you guys on Tuesday. But go Hawks! Big win today, but was it a good win? I don't know.